Hey, 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 welcome to Eat Out at Home, the podcast. This is the place for foodies who want to learn how to cook better, eat healthier, dine together, and enjoy some gourmet every day. I'm your host, Chef Evelyn, and on this podcast, I share with you my best chef secrets that I've learned from teaching thousands of people how to cook via online and in-person cooking classes, healthy eating workshops, and from my well-seasoned career in the culinary field. Listen, I've been cooking for over 20 years, so I know my way around the kitchen. If you're ready to spice things up in that department, then just consider me your secret ingredient. So, if you're ready, sit back, relax, grab a snack, and let's dive right in. Hey, 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 and welcome back to the Eat Out at Home podcast. Happy New Year. I am excited to kick off this season and the new year talking about all things cooking and baking and entertaining and, of course, eating out at home. So I thought I would start this new year, this first episode of the new year, talking about some of my goals for the year as far as cooking at home. And I know during this time, a lot of people are setting goals around maybe like healthy eating or things they want to eliminate from their diet. And my goals really don't fall into that category. And as a matter of fact, while I am setting goals, I really don't begin my new year until the spring, when everything is coming back to life, when everything in nature is new and fresh and growing and blossoming. So right now we are in the dead of winter in the Northern Hemisphere, and everything is hibernating or dead or, is completely lifeless because of the time of the year. So I don't necessarily try to jump right into like new habits and new goals. In January, I will use this time to reflect and then set up my systems and get ready for the spring. So as you hear these goals, just know that I'll be doing a soft start around this time, but really cooking on all four burners coming the spring. So I'm going to share these goals with you, and hopefully, you can get some inspiration from these, or it can make you evaluate your own cooking at home and food goals for the year. So I have 5 here, and the first one is pretty simple, is to eat out at home more. More specifically, I really want to focus on cooking at home 6 days a week. That's what I want to do. A lot of people have goals about like what they're not going to eat and all that kind of stuff. For me, it's more so about continuing my eat out at home journey and wanting to get to 6 days a week. Right now, I'm at about 4 to 5 days a week of cooking at home consistently, but I really want to make that a solid 6, and then I can be more intentional about what I'm doing on the 7th day. The second thing for me is that I really want to focus on plants and proteins. So I have this philosophy that I call offensive eating, right? So, in sports, and not that I'm a sports expert at all, not even a little bit, but there's offense and defense, right? I mean, even when you think about just strategies in general, there's offensive strategies, there's defensive strategies. And so when it comes to eating, kind of like what I was referencing to, a lot of people do what I like to call defensive strategies, aka elimination diets. Oh, I'm cutting out carbs, I'm cutting out dairy, I'm cutting out caffeine, I'm cutting out sugar, I'm cutting out all those things. And that can be effective for some people. Restrictive dieting and restrictive eating doesn't really work for me. As a chef, cooking is fun. It is expressive. It is creative. My philosophy is if it comes out of the ground or if it's naturally occurring in nature, I'm probably going to eat it. You know what I mean? But for me, I really want to focus on plants and proteins and, paying attention to those first, and then everything else comes second. And so I consider that offensive eating, that more so I want to focus on what I am going to eat versus what I'm not going to eat. And in my personal experience, and maybe you've experienced this if you've ever gone down this path, that when I focus on all the things that I want to incorporate, if I happen to have some quote unquote unhealthy things that I need to eliminate, they take care of themselves because I don't end up having the room in my diet, in my stomach, to consume those things, or I end up losing the taste for those. So for me, I'm typically there's got to be a green vegetable every day. There's got to be a piece of fruit every day, and protein. But I really want to get to more so making sure that there is a vegetable at every meal. I kind of do that. I eat about 3.5 meals a day. So 3 meals and a snack. I would say on average, 2 of those meals have a vegetable with them. And I really would like to get to all 3 of my meals having a vegetable, and then one of the meals having a fruit and the snack also having a fruit, right? And then making sure that I am diversifying my proteins. I eat a lot of chicken, I eat a lot of turkey, beef, lamb, things like that. But I really also have been focusing on increasing my fish intake. So I'm a huge fan of like sea bass, trout, cod, branzino, things like that. I'm not a huge salmon, catfish, or tilapia fan, but really want to increase my fish intake. I know, don't click off the podcast. I'm not really a fan of crustaceans. So you're not going to see me talking about like shrimp and lobster and crab and scallops, and just, it's not my vibe. I think because I grew up in the Midwest that, if it crawled on the ground, I would eat it. But because we were landlocked, there wasn't a lot of fresh seafood. Oh, and also tuna, fresh. And there's this tuna that I love that comes in a glass jar that I keep in the pantry just for when I need a little snack. But I really want to increase my fish intake from a protein standpoint. So then the third thing that one of my goals for this year, as far as my cooking at home or my eat out at home goals, is that if I'm in the mood for a dessert, I want to make it. So I don't know if you know this about me. My culinary background, technically my culinary degree is in baking and pastry arts. I love to bake. I got started with baking. My first food business when I was 15, I was selling pound cakes. I love to bake. It's such a stress relief for me. I love just all the science and the exactness of it. Some people don't love that, but I actually love it. And so I wouldn't necessarily say that I have a sweet tooth, like I need something sweet every day or anything like that, but I do enjoy baking. And so, one of the ideas that I've toyed with is that if I am in the mood for something sweet, given my skill set, I want to make it at home. And that way I can, if I want to use specialty flours, if I want to use, less processed, more natural sugars, if I wanted to make sure that it is preservative free, things like that, but also just to make sure that I'm keeping my hands in the food and I'm actually enjoying it, so that it's kind of like, a double dopamine hit. Like I get the joy of baking, but I also get the joy of eating the baked good. So that is something that I really want to prioritize, which is, if I desire something sweet, is to make it at home. And then the fourth thing is I really want to get back to entertaining. Prior to the pandemic and prior, maybe a couple of years before that, I used to entertain a lot, even for things that I'm not big on. Like I said before, I'm not a big sports fan, but I used to host like Super Bowl parties. I used to do holiday parties, different things like that. And, summer get-togethers. I really love bringing people together, and you're going to get a taste of that this year on the podcast and on the vlog channel. So just as a side, I am going to be sharing more cookish food type videos on the vlog channel. So if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/Chef Evelyn. Super simple. I'll leave a link in the show notes. But I really want to get back to entertaining, and something that I have been toying with for a very, very long time is the idea of Friday night dinners, meaning getting together with family or friends, maybe once a month, and just inviting people over on Friday night. Everybody has been, they've had their week, whether it was a long week, a short week, whatever the case may be, gathering people together. Nothing fancy. Doesn't have to be this elaborate celebration with decorations and a playlist. And, you got to invite all these people. It's like inviting 2 or 3 people over for dinner just on a Friday night and loving on people that way. And I've been talking about that for years. And this is the year that I really want to bring that to the forefront. So And then also I have a couple of special like seasonal holidays that I want to celebrate and entertain for. So I'm really, really excited about that, is getting back to entertaining, and it gives me a chance to be more creative with some of my cooking, and then also make things that require a volume of food that I typically would make for myself, and just also to share my love of food with the people around me. So I don't always want to have to wait till a holiday or a special occasion and to have people over. And so I'll be vlogging some of that on my YouTube channel. And then the last thing for my cooking at home or my eat out at home goals for the year is that when I do go out to eat, okay, so I talked about I want to cook at home 6 days a week. When I do go out to eat, I want it to be intentional, I want it to be planned, and I want it to be with other people. So even though now, like I said, I'm kind of I'm 4 days strong, 5 days on average of cooking at home. Some weeks I hit 7 days and I'm like, oh girl, look at you. But I want to be more intentional about my eating out. I know this is called the Eat Out at Home podcast, but I am not against eating out at all. What I am against is eating out by default because I didn't properly set myself up to eat at home, because that's what lands me in a drive-through or eating not the most delicious or healthy foods, right? So I love to eat out. I love to experience other people's culinary point of view and their skill sets and get inspiration and just eat on some delicious food. So I'm not opposed to that at all. However, I want to make sure that I'm being intentional about it, that I'm actively selecting where I would like to go, what I would like to try, who I would like to have in my company when I go, versus, oops, I forgot to go to the grocery store, or I was too tired to defrost something and cook it. And so now I'm in the drive-through and getting something that I really don't want and probably overpriced. So those are my not my healthy eating goals, but my eat out at home goals for the year. Do you have any cooking at home goals, right? And are they specific? A lot of people are like, oh, I want to cook at home, or I want to eat healthier, or I want to eliminate this. But let me know in the comments, and you can tag me on Instagram or leave a comment if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube. If you have any cooking at home goals for this year, or if this has inspired you to create some, let me know. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, head on over to ChefEvelyn.com and join the Inside Dish. That's the place where you and I can stay connected, and where I can send you culinary inspiration, occasional recipes, and some food for thought. And if you're curious about what I'm cooking in between episodes, then follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook for some more delicious behind the scenes. Don't forget to jump on over to iTunes and leave a review. And remember, it's absolutely okay to enjoy some gourmet every day. I'll see you next time.